So, like I said before, I'm Malik.
I'm Caitlin.
I'm Miles.
So most of us know Los Angeles for the great weather, the beautiful people, and the vast amount of opportunities. But how many of you knew that Los Angeles is also regarded as the homeless capital of the nation? While most of the nation's while the nationwide homeless rate has gone down 4%, Los Angeles homeless rate has increased 16% since 2011. As of now, there are approximately 58,423 homeless people wandering the streets of Los Angeles County. Of these 58,000 homeless people, many of them are just like you and I. However, due to certain events, they ended up in the current predicament that they are now in and must scavenge to survive. While the government is trying to support the homeless, their current policies do not fully address the needs of the homeless. They need more from the government, more food banks, more shelters, more health care. They deserve to be treated better. Furthermore, instead of working to reduce homelessness, the government needs to work on preventing it. So here's a little video showing how homelessness can affect anybody at any time.
I think that might be you out there soon. My name's Denny, and we live in Santa Monica. I live in Santa Monica. I've been homeless for approximately 6-7 years.
I'm Jerry Madrid, and I've been homeless with him for 6 years. And what happened was we were refurbishing these apartments for this lady, and we worked for her for 40 years. And
She promised us we'd never have to worry about a place to live again. If we get to the apartments for us, she said we'd always have an apartment to live in. We do like maintenance in the apartments and stuff. As soon as the job is done, she turned on us. Kicked us out. We ended up living in our apartment, and I ended up on the streets. And that was real hard to take because I always had money. I always had a place to live. And so now we ended up down at the bank.
Back of Platinum Motors, they did have a building. We set up a little, I built a little hut.
So as described in the video, homelessness can happen to anyone for many different reasons. Like most Americans, or like most Los Angeles citizens, and especially in the case of Denny and Terry, their situation was caused by job loss. Once that happened, they no longer had the finances they needed to maintain ownership of their home and were forced into the streets. Homelessness also limits the amount of, homelessness is also limited by the amount of beds and shelters that most have to sleep on, and then most have to sleep on the streets. Also, the price of living is extremely high in Los Angeles. Here are just a few demographics of the homelessness problem in LA. So 14,942 are chronically homeless, which means that they're homeless for constantly for a year or more. About 8.5% reside in Skid Row, which is near downtown. Of those, 33% suffer from mental illnesses, and 32% have earned a bachelor's degree, which I found interesting. And most of the, well, not most of the population, but a large amount are veterans who risk their lives to serve our country.
All right, so I'm going to briefly talk about female veterans. Usually, most people don't think about female veterans as being a group in homeless society, but actually ever since the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, there's been a rise from about a few hundred to about 1,000. And the reason for this is because, like other male veterans, they suffer from post-traumatic disorder, and this causes depression and kind of makes it so that you can't find a job after when you come back home as a civilian. But women, and in addition to male veterans, they also don't know that they can they're eligible for benefits because the VA doesn't really advertise it. They think that like you have to be shot in order to receive these benefits, where like just being in the war, like working for the military, you can receive benefits. But women also have different needs and benefits that the VA doesn't really cater to. These include the fact that when civilian military veterans can be pregnant and they need child services support, and also the fact that they suffer from post-traumatic disorder from sexual assault. And it is way more likely for a woman to be sexually assaulted in the military than males. 1 in 5 women is reported to be sexually assaulted, whereas 1 in 100 male veterans have reported to be sexually assaulted. And this sort of leads to the fact that the military doesn't really cater to that, and it causes great depression, and further makes it harder for women to sort of move on. And it also makes it so that women don't want to go to the VA for help, because why would you want to go back to the place where you were sexually assaulted? Like, because they couldn't prevent it before. Also, female veterans females in general are, statistically speaking, are more likely to be the primary parent or custodial parent. And that makes it so that if women come out of the military and then they get divorced and have kids, then it makes it harder for them to find a job and take care of their kids, and that's how a lot of female veterans end up being homeless.
Okay, homelessness isn't just a social issue. It actually has a significant economic impact, and for the most part, it's negative. So we have to look outside of California to find a very clear example of this. But in Columbia, South Carolina, for the past 20 years, the downtown area has been degrading. It was a bustling, high-traffic area with lots of businesses, very successful. And a man named Eddie Gunn owned a local men's clothing store downtown. And he said over the last 20 years, while he's worked there, there have been homeless shelters that were built in the downtown area. And what those did is they attracted more homeless people into a concentrated area, which then pushed people out, pushed the shoppers out. So he said that the homeless people, they come into stores like begging, which makes the customers uncomfortable. And he said that you can even see how visibly uncomfortable women are when they're walking around the stores. It's understandable that these people may be uncomfortable around homeless people. There's many bad stereotypes that may or may not be true, but it's a significant, detrimental force on businesses. And then this man's specific solution, which some fight, is to move the shelters away from business districts. A lot of people say this is sweeping the problem under the rug by just pushing them out. But in order to generate business, you have to move the homeless out. And in order for the homeless people to be supported, the businesses need to be doing business. And another example from California, Sonoma County. Funding was pulled from a major shelter in Sonoma County that supported hundreds, if not thousands, of homeless people in the area. Due to this cut in homeless spending, it was calculated that businesses lose a total of $20.6 million a year just because of the homeless presence in their business districts. Now, so as I said before, high homeless population equals less customers in business. These customers are unhappy because they feel unsafe, they're uncomfortable when they are approached or panhandled, and they're displeased with the general appearance of where they're shopping. Now, there's been an act in California that they're pushing to give the homeless more rights. We currently have the Civil Rights Act that includes protection for many groups, but it does not include it for homeless. So what they propose is that the homeless people would get new protections, and they would be allowed to conduct life-sustaining activities in public spaces, including public areas directly adjacent to businesses. These activities that would be legalized are listed as sleeping on sidewalks, leaving possessions behind, and panhandling or begging. A separate clause is included that would be extremely detrimental to the normal operations of business. This clause is a protection from harassment, which at face value is an acceptable provision. It's understandable that they couldn't be harassed for no reason. Unfortunately, the bill's definition of harassment is any behavior committed by a property manager or business owner that is meant to persuade an individual to alter his or her behavior, whether or not otherwise lawful. So basically, under this definition of harassment, owners would not be allowed to even alert the police if there was an issue going on. So a Venice restaurateur, Tom Elliott, he owns a restaurant on the boardwalk. He has a staff member whose job is just to keep the homeless from reaching over the railings on the patio and taking food off of people's plates because it's a huge problem. And he's afraid that if this Bill of Rights is enacted, he's going to lose all of his business because he wouldn't even be allowed to defend himself. So many view this Bill of Rights as unfair towards business because it favors the needs of the homeless far over the needs of the businesses. Public feeding. So not all businesses are against homelessness, obviously. There's restaurants in Los Angeles that put their food outside on top of their dumpsters so that the homeless can come and get it. And they have to put it on top of the dumpster because it's illegal to open someone's trash and take food from it. And the Greater West Hollywood Food Coalition, they go into high, actually they're not even high homeless population areas. They go into residential areas where there may not be any homeless people. But for the last 27 years, they've been attracting over 100 homeless people anytime that they feed publicly. And businesses and residents of both dislike the increasing number of homeless people because even though they don't live in that area, they come to get food and they stay. And many people say that this is a result because, sorry, I don't know the exact word. Oh, okay. The general consensus is that providing free food without other services to deal with the collateral damage from attracting a concentrated population only furthers issues and imposes more on residents and drives property values down and total business down. In response to these complaints, the Food Coalition Executive Director Jerry Jones says that a ban would be a common but misguided tactic to drive homeless people out of residential areas. He insists that stopping the feedings without providing any sort of counter service will still leave the homeless where they are physically, only worse off. So what can we do to appease the businesses? Government budget cutting must be more conscious. As seen in Sonoma County, cutting homeless programs without weighing their effects can in fact end up costing more money in other aspects of the community, such as business profits. And so businesses are losing money, they're paying less in taxes, and the city's losing money, and businesses are losing money. Then another way to organize and help the businesses is for homeless shelters and other service organizations to accept a business mindset. Most of the time, they're only looking to fix social issues, and if they start thinking economically, then they'll not only gain the support of the businesses, but they'll gain more support through donations because the businesses will have more money to donate. Some suggestions for improving their impact on the economy include relocating or building new shelters away from where they'll impact business, and to find viable options between business and service organizations through collaboration. What can businesses do to help? Businesses can donate more money. Currently, American businesses donate 0.01% of their total pre-tax income, which sounds very small, but that's $5 billion. If they increase just by 0.01%, that's $10 billion that would be going towards helping the homeless. Then another option that's already being done by businesses is paid volunteer work. Whole Foods and other companies give at least 2 days off to their employees to volunteer. And in order to make this applicable to the homeless situation, if your business is specifically affected by the homeless population, you can pay your employees to volunteer and help fix the problem. Now, the most hands-on approach that businesses can take that has, in the last couple of years, started to form are business improvement districts. So these are organizations of property owners who actually choose to tax themselves to raise money for neighborhood improvement. And they pay the money to the city, but the city gives it right back so that they can do what they see fit. And so they use the money for infrastructure maintenance, like sidewalks and roads, social services, which is the homeless aspect, and then also extra patrol. So they have, like in Baltimore, they hire ambassadors that patrol the street and make note of any issues, whether it be someone sleeping on the street or graffiti, and their policy is to resolve any issues within 24 hours, and they've seen an immediate turnaround in the quality of their downtown areas.
So now I'm going to be talking about the Skid Row Housing Trust. This kind of correlates with Miles' idea, or the fact that a lot of homeless shelters will, or organizations will just feed the homeless, but we actually need more than just that in order for business and for society to work better. So I'm going to read a quote. Skid Row Housing Trust was founded by business and civic leaders around Los Angeles to the loss of residential hotels by preserving and rehabilitating the remaining hotels. It began in 1989, and the trust and its boards were committed to ensuring that their buildings were created with architectural beauty designed to replace slums with true homes. So what does this mean? This means that instead of just having homeless shelters for people to stay in for like one night, it actually makes permanent homes and focuses on rehabilitating homeless, or anyone who had a history of homeless. So what it is it's affordable and low-income housing. It also provides psychiatry and medication. It also has health screening and education. This includes for like HIV and disease prevention. It also includes counseling and peer support group, rehabilitation with alcohol abuse, drug abuse, assistance in obtaining disability, Social Security, and other government entitlements. A lot of homeless people don't know what benefits they could have used in order to prevent them from becoming homeless. It also has resources for money management, job training, and education programs. You can't, so basically the point is you can't just feed someone, you actually need to go out there and help them like get back their life and get back on their feet. And so the video of an apartment that is for permanent housing, and it's used to rehabilitate. And it's kind of long, so it's on Los Angeles, downtown. I'm gonna kind of speed through it a little bit. Okay. And it's pretty cool architecture. Like, I wouldn't necessarily think that it's housing for people who were previously homeless. And they have laundry rooms, they have computers that people can use, and it's very much community-based. A lot of the eating rooms are where people can eat together. Also, you can see that there's a courtyard with fresh air in it. This is like where they have computers, and then there's like fridges and sinks to use. And they made this sort of circular formation so that it could fit, it was easy to build and like have as many rooms as possible. And these like sort of like fan shape is used to make it so that there's not as much like sound from the freeway coming in. There's a laundry room. So kind of get the gist of it. This was built because of the Homeless Trust Fund, and there are many other hotels and apartment buildings that were built because of this. Now I'm going to talk about the homeless courts. I'm going to begin by talking about the Los Angeles courts, homeless courts, and then I'm going to talk about the Santa Monica homeless courts. So this program helps impoverished or individuals who are either homeless or have a history of being homeless. And it's used to help clear tickets for, or warrants for minor misdemeanors and offenses. So that could be traffic tickets, jaywalking, riding the metro without a fare, sleeping in public places. In Skid Row, you can sleep there, but you have to be up by 6 a.m. And some people just, like, they're either like too tired to like wake up and move, so they're arrested. And they, Also, illegal use of shopping carts, possession of an open container of alcohol in public, sleeping on a bus bench, as well as other warrants. In order to go to the homeless court, you have to apply, and you need a letter of support verifying the progress of a 90-day growth. And but first, like, you have to be screened by a case manager or a job developer, and you have to be eligible. I went on the website, and it doesn't really tell you how people aren't eligible for it, but I'll get to it in a second. But for the Santa Monica, you basically can't have misdemeanors that deal with violence. So if you have like a misdemeanor with violence, then you're probably not going to get this help. But that doesn't mean that you can't ever go to the court and get help. You can get it in the future. So you need a letter of support, and then you need to go in the 90-day grow participation requirement, and then it takes 3 weeks to deliver, and then you have to process it. So they have this program, but not all homeless people are eligible for it. And then Santa Monica has their own homeless community court as well, and it goes as well, like people who are faced with non-violent misdemeanors are given the option to enroll in the program, and once they're enrolled, they have to regularly meet with a case manager from a local service provider that they sort of set them up with. And then they, this like person sets them up with like services like job training, rehabilitation, mental health care, and permanent housing. And once like upon successful completion of the program, then people are dismissed of charges. And the success of Santa Monica program is that 62 people have graduated, and 65 have received permanent housing. So that's pretty good. And the whole entire point is to actually like treat them like human beings and then bring them back to society, and not just be like a sort of hindrance or a bothersome to society, as Alex was talking about.
So, in conclusion, we all have a moral obligation to the homeless. So what can you do? If you have time to go off campus, you can volunteer at a local food bank, or you can give what you can to a homeless person that you see on the street. If you don't have the time, you can stay on campus, join a service organization that is designed to help the homeless, or you can help Sister Ann make lunches on Tuesdays at 11 a.m., and then also go to the homeless shelter and provide psychiatric, and moral support to the homeless individuals.
Or you can also become part of the Housing Trust Fund workers, which basically help rehabilitate them.